Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I'll be talking about Kashtira, I'll be talking about what I think of the deck, and a couple ways to also beat the deck. Now before I continue, please let me know if you guys like this type of content, and if you do, please make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment below with any sort of feedback, and all that type of stuff. Also, please go make sure to check out tsx1.com, where you can use the code potato10 for a 10% discount on all your sleeves. Okay, so I don't like Kashtira. And now, I don't enjoy playing it. I made that perfectly clear in live stream or just people that have talked to me. I don't enjoy playing that deck. But I don't mean that in just the sense of I don't like playing it. I don't like it as a deck in terms of how viable it is. Now, its end field is strong. It is very strong, and it is almost toxic how strong it is. I feel like there's just a lot of ways to stop Kashtira. I think that deck may be a trap. I'll elaborate.
It's a trap!
Now, these are all cards that you can expect to see the upcoming YCS in Vegas in preparation for Kashtira. That's a lot. There's a decent number of cards that you can justify playing that are very strong. In fact, I forgot some. There's more here. There's Dark Ruler no more. There's other board clears as well, like Change of Heart. It's incredibly hard to know what the correct call is as far as the Kashtira player because of how varied this is. Now, when you're playing Two Elements on the last format, we were playing the most targeted deck. But that was fine because we knew what they were going to prepare for us. We knew their board breakers weren't strong enough. The only option they had to retaliate was Bystials, or the only good option at least. So we prepared for Bystials. You could have played Mechanicos, we sided Talents, you sided extra copies of Screams. We learned how to play around it. We played more rank 6s. So we were able to cope with the fact that we were being so heavily targeted, and it ended up not being such a big deal. However, going into Vegas, there's a huge target in Kashtira's back. Everyone's hyping it up, and everyone is labeling it the deck to beat. Maybe this in Despia. And I think it has a lot of reason to be feared. Its end field is not okay. Being able to lock zones while having a macro up and a banish up, it means that most of the time, if you go unanswered, your opponent's not going to be able to beat your field, your Kashtira field, and you will get a lot of easy wins that way. But this also is going to trigger a response in their opponents, where now they're going to want to side all these powerful cards. They're going to have a variety of options to choose from. And you may say, well, the Kashtira player can play around some of these. I can make my Arise Heart and 4 summons. Summon 3 level 7s and just overlay straight up. What happens if you use all your cards in the Book of Moon now? Your field's even way worse. Or you get Kaiju'd. Terrible. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Not much recourse there. If it was just Book of Moon though, that's all they had. Maybe I could have gone for the Lock 5 play. That would have been better. Maybe you should have gone for a mid-range combo and put some follow-up left. What if you get the Kashtira Preparations card for follow-up? That way, if they Nibiru you, you can use another Scareclaw, banish the Rise Heart Engrave, and then bring it back with the trap. But if you get Eclipse, that does nothing still. It's so hard to know what's going to happen to you because there's so many different things. And while some options may play around some cards, there's no way for you to play around everything as the cash player. This creates an incredibly frustrating format where even if you have the side deck cards for the matchup, it feels like you almost have to gamble a bit on how effective they're going to be if your opponent will play around it. But that's even worse as the Kashtira player because you're gambling about what cards to play around every single round of your tournament. Your entire round is going to be you gambling on what side deck cards they play. And this deck is going to be targeted. I don't know if I can reasonably sit through a tournament and biases aside on how I think the deck is fun to play or not fun to play. I can't look at my hand each round and say, I'm going to play around Nibiru this hand but lose to Gamma Book of Moon. Or play around Book of Eclipse in this hand, but then lose to something like Kurikara. I'm gonna play around Branded Fusion this game by summoning Fanrare from the deck, but now that I have Thrust for Dark Ruler, oh god. I'm gonna play around, make a small field, like just a Rise Heart, and they imperm me on the Rise Heart on their turn. You don't have a good choice. And the winner with Kashtira, if Kashtira does win, will be the person that really cracks the code on the best way to go about going first, because that's a huge issue for me. Like a deck that should theoretically win going first, and this deck does decently, that is so heavily targeted but doesn't have a good answer to that needs to be fixed. I mean, like, so what are the fixes here if in your own side deck cards? I guess would be the next question. So as the Kashtira player going first, what do you do? I mean, I see people playing Judgments, saw people playing Lance, but again, these just deal with some cards. You can play Tasking for Nibiru and the Talents. Those don't always work either. What if you want a Tasking for Lance to set a trap? That doesn't do anything. So at that point, your best course of action is maybe just like let them break your field and then have like an anti-engine card like D-Barrier or Anti-Spell to stop them from playing. But then if you're playing like multiple Floodgates to cover the right matchups, That's so many going first cards on your side now, unless you just only want some matchups. That it's just such a big concession to make, it seems. No matter what, there's going to be some big downside that you're going to have to just live with that I don't want to live with when I'm deck building. This doesn't even tackle the going second problem. I think this deck is fragile to interruptions. The whole clause of needing no monsters on your field means, well, you can't play Nibiru, you can't play Bestials. Fine, what else could we do? How about if you get Book of Moon or Book of Eclipse? Those cards are already good going second against you. What happens if you get Book of Moon or normal summon? Or on your special summon of Unicorn? Can't summon another monster now. You have to go Birth, or you have to like use one of the extenders that banishes, but if you have nothing in your grave, you banish from your hand, which is terrible. It's just still given there's nothing else going on. Like, I don't like that it's as simple as if you shifter them to them just have like a Book of Moon or a Book of Eclipse they sided and then give you a draw for them to like just still be in the game. Now, if Eclipse is that much of an issue, then maybe Eclipse is like a bigger one to play around, and you should play Ash to beat that as well because it's fine versus other decks, especially branded. But it's still not enough. It just leaves me in such an awkward place with this deck right now. It just feels like this deck is a trap. It theoretically has the highest ceiling because it can do some really dumb stuff going first, and it can seemingly be okay through some interruptions, but for some other forms of interruption, this deck is just unplayable. When it goes first, it's really not all that crazy either. It's like trying to set up one of those invincible lock things, and you have to imagine the card that breaks the field, but there are way more of those than there are for those ones that you see on Zodiac Duels, to where it's like 5 different continuous trap cards. There are outs in the game. So, I mean, if you guys are considering going to these tournaments, I'd consider maybe not playing Kashtira, at least not until the target's gone off its back, especially if you're thinking about spending all that money on this deck. It really just seems like it has fundamental flaws that it can't get past. Going first, this deck seems like no engine in the game can really beat it. Some people may say if you have Branded Fusion, you can deal with it, but really it only beats them in certain fields. They play around Branded Fusion properly and they know what to do in the scenario. Branded Fusion still does not beat it, and the Branded deck therefore is not a deck that has engine that beats this. At the same time, this deck loses to other decks' engines so easily when going second. This deck's engine cannot beat a Meta Noise. It like struggles versus itself because you're still getting your zones locked, and its counterplay is rather limited. Like, Fenrir is your best going second card, but every other deck can play Fenrir as well as a splashable card, and they aren't because it's not the best. It's like just okay. So I mean, yeah, I've rambled on for a bit now how I don't think this deck is the best. I'm just saying, be cautious. I'd be very happy if people didn't play this deck for Vegas, because playing against it's infuriating. It's like Fluandereeze in that regard. So maybe this is just my propaganda video post to make sure you guys don't play it at Vegas. But I'm actually being genuine. I will not. There's a close to 0% chance I bring this deck to Vegas. I think this deck is too flawed, and I think I'd be miserable playing it. But yeah, guys, I mean, that's it for the video. If you guys like these type of just strict theory videos without really even any decks in the picture, let me know, and I can try and make more of them as we get closer to new events in the future, because I think this is something that's pretty hot topic leading into Vegas, given the new ban list and all that. So yeah, any feedback is appreciated, and I will see you guys next time.